That's the one we asked for.
George, I unmuted the
I asked for it,
mic,
yes.
so we're recording now, just FYI.
Here we go. The gang's all here now.
Feel free to start the meeting.
We were waiting.
Thank you.
Mr. Eglin, is everything in good shape,
Everything-
technology-wise?
Everything is in order. Thank you for asking, Chairman.
Very good. Very well, then, I'd like to call this December meeting of Louisa County Planning Commission work session to order. And we'll start with a capital improvement plan update. Ms. Coleman.
Evening, Chairman and members of the commission. Tonight I'm here to present the capital improvement plan for the items that we would like the Planning Commission to review. So this meeting, we will go through at a very high level just the projects that we feel like have an impact that we'd like you to consider and make a recommendation to the board. The next meeting, I will bring department heads with me, and they will go in much more detail. If they're small questions, I can probably answer them tonight. If they're more detailed, we'll make a note, and we will get those answers for you, and then they'll come and make more presentations, and then you will make your recommendations in February.
Very good.
So on page 7 of the book, you will see the capital improvement requests for this fiscal year. And then the items in yellow are the items that you will see more detail on in the book. So the first item in yellow is the Fire and EMS Fire Training Center. Not all of these are for 27, but by law, y'all are required to look at these type of items for 5 years. So we can at least have a 5-year plan. The county went years ago to looking at a 20-year plan. We know these numbers are going to change, but at least we know these projects are things that we need to keep in the forefront, that we may need to save money for. We may not have the need if something changes, but at least these are items that we don't forget about, and it helps us planning for projections of how to pay for them in the future. So the Fire Training Center is an FY28 request. And this is a building out at where our current fire training center is. It would replace that building, and it would be a new facility for our to meet the growing needs of our personnel, and we could provide our own training, professional development, things like that, which we've already started to do. It's just such a small unit there, but as our staff grows, it's almost a money savings to do it ourselves. So that's what that's for. The next one is a new station at Zion's Crossroads Fire and Rescue. The facility they have there now, we're going to do a study and see where the best places to put the next stations, like based on call volumes and numbers of calls and response times and things like that. We're going to do a study in 27, see if Zion's Crossroad or Ferncliff are the areas we need. We feel like they are based on what we see, but we're going to look at the study with a third party and make sure we have the right locations. And then the following year in 28, we hope to put stations where they're needed for better response. Then the fourth thing for Fire and EMS is an upgrade expansion for the Locust Creek Volunteer Fire Department. We have career staff there. Right now, they're not set up to house all the career staff we had in a really good way. And so this is an expansion so that we can have women and men at that station. We would give them a day room, place for the kitchen, and do some safety upgrades that are needed out there, make it ADA compliant, things like that. Any questions on those? Okay. Next, the general services projects. A couple of these you've seen over the landfill closure and the new cell development funding. We put annual allocations in these funds, so we're saving for when we have to open a new cell or close a current cell based on regulation as those times come. So the money you see in this area is to continue to save for when we have to make those changes. Animal shelter building addition. This is to build an addition to our current animal shelter so that they have a added space to care for the animals. If a sick animal comes in, it's easier to quarantine, gives them more space intake and for fenced-in areas for the animals, but to make that a better facility. That facility's been there a while, and they do great things there, but this is to give them more room to handle and do what they need to do. The grounds maintenance shop, that's to construct a post-frame maintenance shop for our Parks and Rec ground maintenance equipment. Right now, they're in a mobile unit for the staff that works out of a little mobile unit. I don't think there's running water in it. It's just this facility that they have now is smaller, and this would make, as we grow and the county grows and we maintain more areas, it would give that additional space. Then we have an airport maintenance building that's we're looking at for potentially 28, and that's a storage facility at the airport to keep the grounds maintenance equipment and facility equipment and maintenance supplies that are strictly like airport specific kind of things out there that they have out there. The next thing, I put this one on here because it kind of goes with with the animal shelter building addition. Once the building addition is set and the fire training is done and the storage buildings are built, they want to do the roadways and the signage and the paving for that. So that's what that animal shelter, fire training center, storage building, paving, parking lot, roads. It's once they get all that other up and done that we can, and they want to do the roads all at one time because the amount of asphalt is cheaper to do it at one time. But this would be to put the road structure and the paving in for that. Any questions on general services? Okay, I'll keep going.
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Goodwin?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a question, Deborah. As we are taking on more responsibility at the airport, and the airport is growing, has anyone mentioned the need to put a substation or some sort of a fire capability at the airport?
No, not at the airport at this time that I'm aware of. We are pretty close here to the Louisa station, and that may be something they consider when they do the study of what's needed. But to my knowledge, not at this time.
If I can continue, I realize the proximity of both Mineral and Louisa, but when something happens at the airport, it's going to be catastrophic. And
Pass that on.
Pardon?
Pass that on to the appropriate department. I'm sorry.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Sorry, just making a note on that. Any other questions on that? Okay. For the public schools, we originally last year had a new elementary school in for FY30. The population in the schools have grown this year immensely. As the county grows, our school population's grown, and looks like we're gonna need potentially a new school in FY28. So we've got a little bit of money in 27 to start doing the planning and the design and all that good stuff, and then in 28 build the school. So that's what that's for. Parks and Rec long-term capital project reserves. This is a continuation. It's a savings plan to continue to save for Parks and Rec capital projects in the future. This could be things like the indoor aquatic facility or a community center, but it's saving towards those needs as y'all identify, and the county, they identify those needs that we need. So we're continuing with that. The Water Authority, we have the Bowlers Mill Dam improvements. We've been doing an annual allocation for that. It's classified as a high hazard dam, and we are going to be required at some point to do some upgrades to prevent a dam failure. We've applied for grant funding, and once that grant funding comes in, these funds would be used to meet the match. The ammonia nitrogen, Louisa Regional Wastewater Treatment Plant ammonia nitrogen project is again an annual allocation to upgrade the plant for freshwater ammonia nitrogen regulations. These upgrades are anticipated in 26. That we'll have to start with them, and then it'll go over a period of several years to complete them. Louisa County would pay half, and then the town of Louisa would pay half on this. And we're also hoping for grant funding and other things that will offset some of these costs. There potentially will be more water authority projects. We're kind of doing a study right now to determine what those needs are and when we need to place them. So as we get that information, we'll add those, and I'll bring y'all up to date with those when we get that finalized. But we weren't quite ready with that yet. Next, the Louisa County Airport. All these projects you see listed for the airport, these are done with grant funding. The federal grants normally pay about, I want to say 80 some percent. The state normally pays about 10%. So it's like 90 and 8 and 2. The county pays about 2%. So to get these done, it's normally once we get the grant funding. So some that were in for 27 originally have moved out to 28 as the grant funding becomes available. And so the first ones that they'll work on, we've already done the design part or working on the design part for the Southside Apron Taxiway Hangar site. And the next step would be the construction once that's done. And then the next one that's in a row would be the Southside Access Road parking. We would start with the design and then do construction also in 28. And then I listed some of the others that if after those are done that could potentially be done as the grant funding came out. Again, this is very high level. I will take back Mr. Goodwin's suggestion to see if that's something that we can look at. And if you have any questions, then I'm here to answer them. Or if there's any other projects you want to know anything about.
Questions from the commission?
Thank y'all very much.
Thank
I will
you.
see you in January.
All right, that is all that's on the official schedule here. However, I do see a couple of other odds and ends that have shown up. Do we have a few other items for the work session here?
Well, just to bring up, I believe Ms. Johnson passed out the filing schedule and public hearing dates for 26. So you have that for information. The school enrollment update, I believe, is information that Mr. Dickerson had asked for in October, and we got that, and so Ms. Johnson provided that for you all to look at. And I think that kind of goes to some of the school issues that Ms. Colvin was talking about in the CIP with the new elementary school. I think there's some information in there. And the third item that was passed out, and this was kind of just really to get it in front of you all this evening to let you know that we'll be bringing this back, excuse me, to the Planning Commission. There have been several instances in which county administration has received requests for replacement of road signs. And currently, the ordinance in Chapter 64, when the E91 addressing and street naming was done in the early 90s, the ordinance that was written didn't address future maintenance and replacement of road signs. So the Fire and EMS department has been responsible for doing that, and they have an amount in their budget every year, but each sign costs about $270. So really what we're doing here is two-part. It's amendments to Chapter 64, which the Planning Commission won't have a public hearing on because it's outside of zoning and subdivision. That will be done by the board, but it just puts language in the ordinance that talks about the responsibility will be the county's. The board talked about this and felt due to the emergency services and being able to access, finding homes when they receive calls, that it was important that those road signs be in place. So the second part of it is amendments that we've proposed to the fee schedule under community development or planning and zoning fees, ways to help offset cost of those road signs. We currently charge like GIS fees for new parcels created, for new road miles and that sort of thing, but we've included here information to add a GIS fee for a new address as it's assigned when someone applies for a building permit, because that is something that is added to the GIS, and so a fee for that, a fee for the street sign on a new development, when it involves a new internal state road, that we actually charge that fee up front rather than fire and EMS trying to collect it from the developer at a later time. And then some, just some increases to some of our fees for special projects through the GIS that we get requests for maps and data sets and that sort of thing. And these are all ways that we're proposing to help offset those costs of the replacement road signs. I can't remember the exact number, but I think that they had a request last year for somewhere 20-plus road signs to be replaced. And it may be more than that, but they are roughly about $270 apiece
Sure.
currently. And, you know, so like I said, we really wanted to just get this in front of you. If you want to talk about it more, we can add it as a work session item next month. We can add it to the regular agenda tonight to talk about a little bit more. We can either do work session in January, public hearing in February on the fee schedule, or if you feel comfortable with it, if we have more discussion during the regular meeting about going ahead and scheduling a public hearing in January on the fee schedule.
Any commissioners have an opinion? I'm happy talking about it during the regular meeting tonight and scheduling it for January if that's suitable for everybody.
I think that works.
Go ahead and get these things. I think the January meeting is going to be not maybe as strenuous as some coming up, so go ahead and get this in and get it taken care of,
Okay.
so we can do that.
Okay, so at the beginning of the regular meeting, you can amend the agenda just to add this as a discussion item.
Yes, we can do that. I will do it.
And that is all I have.
And that's just for the fee schedule. That's the only thing we're going to be taking up, as I understand. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yep.
The other part of it in Chapter 64 would only be a public hearing with the board. We're welcome to
Right.
talk about it. If you have any feedback on the language that we've proposed so far, but we tried to keep it as simple and clear as possible. We're open to discussion.
All right. Very good. Any other items that you all have for us?
No, sir.
All right, that's all I have on the agenda for the work session tonight. Does anyone have any other things for the work session?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Goodwin?
I believe in January, we are scheduled to elect new officers, and we're also scheduled to review our bylaws. That's an annual thing. I think we need to at least have it in mind if we don't need to talk about it.
Very good. So I guess the message from that is that it's a good time to review your bylaws now before we get together again. I think we did a pretty good job the past few years tightening them up and getting them in good shape. But if anyone identifies anything between now and January, then that's the time to bring it up. And maybe we'll put bylaws on the work session as well, just to make sure we have a discussion if there's anything we need to talk about.
And if anyone needs another copy, we will be glad to email those out to you all. Just let us know, or we can just go ahead and email it.
I just will go ahead and do it,
Okay.
just to make sure everyone has a copy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Goodwin. Very well. If there's nothing else then, we will adjourn the work session and we'll reconvene at 7 o'clock for the regular meeting.
Mr. Brooks says the ball.
Oh, However you want to prepare.
It's the interest in numbers.